I don't know. I can imagine quite a bit.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And Kenton, we're back at the college. No more recording on Zoom. We're in person, and we're back at work teaching our classes again. How you feeling?
Exhausted. How about you?
We're only 2 days in.
That's the most exhausting part of it, is the first week, don't you find?
Yeah, well, I find there's a lot of high energy and a lot of people really excited. And yeah, it is exhausting, but in a good way. Like, it's not like the end of the semester marking exhausting, which is in a bad way, right? That's a different kind of exhausting.
It's a psychological exhaustion from meeting a bunch of new people and knowing that you're going to have to learn their names. And it takes me a month.
It does, yeah.
It's
it
embarrassing. Yeah,
well,
it's embarrassing.
You shouldn't feel embarrassed about it. And I say to the students, and especially this year, because I have like more than 100 different students that I have to learn their names. So it's difficult, but I just say, we're meeting a bunch of people at the same time. You cannot expect us to remember everybody's name. It's just not possible, right? So you just say, hey, you. And honestly, the more they speak up in class, the quicker you learn their names. That's what I find.
That's very true. And there's some people with the same name in the class because the college organizes classes alphabetically by first name. And so I find that I learn the same names first.
Okay.
It's just a psychological thing about myself that I noticed. If you have the same name as 5 other people, and I can just shout that name out and get 5 people off the attendance roster, so much the better.
All right.
It's a time saver.
It is.
What I'm saying. Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to be back. I'm excited about the semester, and certainly have an exciting group of young people who all are very engaged in podcasting. Well, I should say all. I haven't spoken to all the students yet, but the section I saw this morning was very engaged. We had a great class discussion about podcasts. Most of them listen to podcasts on a regular basis. So that's and it's so interesting to me that that's the way it is, because even a couple of years ago, that wasn't the case. I always ask every class and get a show of hands. And 3 years ago, before the pandemic or during the pandemic, that number was not as high. So more and more people are listening to podcasts, and it's just becoming very, very common.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Because in recent years, I would have people blankly look at me about how do you listen to a podcast? Things like that.
I think a lot of people are coming back to it after years. I had somebody ask me recently where they should host their podcast. I thought that's an interesting question. They were looking they wanted to pay for a host server. Remember when we used to do that, Kenton? You used to pay for it.
Yeah, it was $50 a month or something.
Yeah, it worked out to be quite a bit for Libsyn. But that's how you had to post your podcast.
And now
there's no free option.
What is it called? Anchor?
Spotify.
Oh yeah, right.
But also YouTube. YouTube has also created a podcast tab. So if you create a YouTube channel, you can there's a little tab you can actually just upload. You upload an MP3 and an image, and it just basically posts that as a video. And that's Google's podcasting platform now.
That's pretty good.
It is. Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah, it's good. It was bound to get easier to do than what it used to be.
Yeah, it had to be.
Because I was shocked at how many podcasts there were, because it was so hard to actually set the whole thing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's way more easier, and I'm excited to see what kind of podcasts these guys come up with. They were talking about them already during the break, so it sounds really interesting.
We have students with collections this semester, and I just talked to a student, and she has a Build-A-Bear collection, and I was like, well, she showed me a picture. I was like, holy crap. I said, that looks like my Star Wars figures. It looks like the same kind of thing. But people who collect things probably also could probably do an interesting podcast about that thing.
You can do a Build-A-Bear podcast for sure. I imagine that collection costs almost as much as your Star Wars collection, because those things are freaking expensive.
She told me pumpkin, what was it? Pumpkin cat? Pumpkin something is the hard one to find. Right. Or are they all bears?
They're all, no, there's different ones. They have ones for characters, different, no, there's cats. My kid has a cat. Luke has a cat.
Pumpkin something is the hard one to find. It's just like the spice latte at Starbucks. The pumpkin one's hard to find. And she said she will actually call the store at 10 a.m. to see if it came in.
Oh, wow.
I used to be with Star Wars, but I'm no longer.
Right. Okay, well, that's interesting. All right, cool.
That'd be a good podcast.
It would be, yes, absolutely.
If it comes up, I want the Build-A-Bear podcast.
Okay.
We're gonna have to make that happen.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we'll see if that comes up.
Yeah.
But this is, of course, a Star Wars podcast on every other week, and we're going to talk about Star Wars this week. We're going to talk about all the news. There's been some leaked stuff that has been pulled. We have big stars coming to Star Wars, and also I thought we should have that talk you've been wanting to have about what Star Wars should do in the wake of the Acolyte and the mess that's created. Is Star Wars going downhill? What's happening to the brand? I thought we could talk about that a little bit too.
Well, Dan, they took our advice, didn't they?
Well, I guess so. I mean, I don't think they were listening to us directly. But yeah, so we did think that I just said that I don't think it's going to get renewed, and it didn't. It wasn't renewed. It's
I said cancel it, and I also said it should go where Willow went, wherever that is.
Which is not on Disney Plus.
Right.
Yeah, they should actually take it. It's so bad they should take it off of Disney Plus, and that's valid. I think it was very poorly done.
And here's where I say our problem with the show, and it's been blamed on haters, on online haters for getting it canceled. But I love Star Wars. I'm not an online hater, and I don't like review bomb or I don't do any of that stuff. I just hated the writing on that show. I just thought that writing was neat. It was like back to the drawing board. It just did not work as a singular piece. So we're not haters. We love Star Wars. We want to make Star Wars as good as it can be. And we had some good news this week about maybe some stuff that will be good.
I don't think it came as a surprise that it was canceled, although some people said they were surprised. But I think you're right. It is the writing, but also just the feel of it. Like when you look at The Mandalorian, and just immediately feels like Star Wars, right? It just nailed that feeling, the presence of it, the seriousness of it. And I just didn't get that from The Acolyte. The Acolyte felt like it was trying to be Star Wars, but not succeeding. And so it just kind of felt like fake Star Wars to me, which is, I think, why it got canceled.
People in costumes.
Yeah, exactly. And nothing really that we could connect with. Not great characters, not a great story, confusing, characters acting contrary to their behaviors in other episodes. Like, it was just all over the place. And so, yeah. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing that they made it. I think Star Wars needs to do stuff like this every once in a while. So it can reset, because we've never had all awesome content. We've always had some bad content, some good content with Star Wars, right? Like the prequels are not great. Even though they do have a place and there are fans who love them, I don't think they're good. And I came out of those movies thinking they were pretty bad. Yeah. Do I think they were worse than The Acolyte? No, I think The Acolyte is worse than the prequels. But I just think that this is bound to happen because they have to take risks. This is part of taking risks. Yep. Sometimes you're going to risk it and it's going to suck. Sometimes you take a risk and it's awesome. That's just the way it is.
Well, we needed 3 years of terrible Marvel to get Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah. So they've pulled what they could out of the fire. Now, I don't know what happens next with Marvel, but it's the same with Star Wars. Only needs, is as good as its last piece of content, I think, in people's minds. Like, it used to be that Star Wars in people's minds was one of the world's greatest movie franchises. And you're right, the prequels eroded it in some people's minds, and then the sequel trilogy, oh my God, so bad.
I think the sequel trilogy elevated it and then eroded it, because I think most people really liked The Force Awakens and liked what was happening at that time.
As a setup to something better,
but
it might have been okay.
Yeah.
But now the fact that they had no plan and nothing came really short of a couple scenes, I guess. Yeah. That nothing really great happened after it. I think now when you watch Force Awakens, all you see is like empty promises. I don't think you necessarily see what we were hoping was going to happen.
True. Yeah. But it's always been up and down. And so you have to have the crappy to have the good. And I think that we are going to head in an upward. Now we're heading towards the Mandalorian Grogu movie, right? Is that something coming out soon? We have Skeleton Crew, which we'll talk about in a second. So there's some promising content on the horizon for Star Wars. Yeah. So I don't think they should become. The problem is, like, they get gun shy with this stuff. Like, Solo gets released, people don't like Solo, so then they pull back everything and cancel all their extra movies that they're going to do. I think those standalone movies are the best things to come out of that period of Star Wars. Like, I like those two movies they did, Rogue One and Solo, better than the sequels. Yeah. Right? And so they should be doing that kind of stuff, because then you never know how good it's going to be. They should take chances, and sometimes it's just going to be bad.
But once again, I was really excited to see post Return of the Jedi Star Wars. And so Mandalorian is giving us kind of what I thought. The kinds of things in the era that I was hoping to see, and it's exciting. And I think because it's so promising in terms of storytelling. And so when we saw J.J. Abrams' version of that, it was kind of like, oh, like we were just hoping that like we'd had years of novels and all this stuff that could have been so great. And so The Mandalorian is kind of giving us, I think, the thing that we thought maybe J.J. Abrams' movie trilogy, and Rian Johnson, the thing that we thought that their trilogy was going to be.
Yeah. Absolutely. It brings back the Mandalorian did it so well. And the problem is it was like the first thing that came out on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And it set the bar so high they felt that everything should hit that bar. And I would even say even everything that's come out in Disney Plus, that hasn't been all that good either. That's been hit or miss. I thought Ahsoka was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't great. And
one good episode for sure. One exciting episode. And then you're right. I thought the rest of it, it's fun. I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I know how it fits in and stuff. But once again, like some storytelling leaps that just kind of made the whole thing just like a little less exciting or as tight a story as it could have been.
Book of Boba Fett also divisive. A lot of people didn't like it. I didn't mind it. There's certain elements I didn't like, but this is not like
some elements I didn't like, but I liked most of Book of Boba Fett. I think that gets a bad rap, to tell you the truth.
I agree. But I think that overall it's people can't expect it all to be awesome all the time. That's just an unrealistic expectation, and that you have to kind of accept that every once in a while you're going to get a piece of crap.
Yeah,
so that's what we got with the Acolyte. And so hopefully we'll put that behind us. Maybe it'll get scrubbed from Disney Plus. We'll see how that ends. It'd be funny if that happens. If you go search up the Acolyte next month and it's not there. But we have news that, so the next series coming out is Skeleton Crew, correct? And we had a trailer for that last week. Let's take a look at the trailer and then talk about it, because I saw this. We weren't really podcasting when this came out, but I just kind of want to watch it, and then we'll talk about what this is, because it seems really interesting to me.
Tomorrow's test will set the course of your entire future.
Don't you ever want to do anything exciting? Like what? What if we could go anywhere we want in the whole galaxy? A real adventure. No more pretend. I found something buried in the woods. What do you think it is? I think it's a lost Jedi temple. Be careful where you step. We're lost. Really lost.
'Tis dangerous out there in space. Trust no one.
You're a Jedi.
Quite the dramatic reveal. It's the dramatic reveal for Jude Law for me. So that is basically, I'm going to sum it up as Stranger Things in Star Wars.
Very much so.
Celebrities like Justin Bieber.
I don't care about celebrities like Justin Bieber. Okay, no, it's Stranger Things and Star Wars mashed together is what it is. It's a gang of kids series.
A little bit of E.T., a little bit of Goonies.
Yep, Monster Squad. These are the gang of kids that solve mysteries, right? Scooby-Doo even falls into this category.
Just a bunch of middle-class kids from the suburbs.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Star Wars suburbs, and it was kind of cool seeing the Star Wars suburbs.
With a hammerhead walking around. That's funny.
Like, I always like when Star Wars mimics real life in ways, and this is kind of a way it's doing that, so I like that. And honestly, I'm excited about this. This seems like it's going to be good.
You know what? The child acting seems good. I hate
that's always a concern of yours. I know.
Well, after the Acolyte, acting was an issue.
Yes.
I hate to say it, but it was. And not just one actor either. There were some acting problems on that show. And I think part of it was the actors weren't quite sure what their job was to emote because the story didn't make any sense.
Sure, yeah. But this seems like it's much more grounded, and it is very much like it's, there are certain shots in that trailer that so remind me of E.T. specifically, like when the one where he's like pointing the flashlight at the entrance to the Jedi Temple, and then there's like other shots that remind me of Goonies. There's like a skeleton at one point with cobwebs on it. So it's very much a tribute to all these things that we grew up with, but also hopefully telling a new and interesting story in the Star Wars universe, right?
Yeah, and by the way, I'm not sure. He says, "Is this a Jedi temple?" Or is that what he thinks it is? Or is it really a Jedi temple with a spacecraft in it?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a crashed spacecraft? And he just thinks it looks like a Jedi temple when they first go in. Like, I'm sort of interested. I think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Jude Law has a look about him where he's a Jedi, but is he a Jedi? Is he like the character from Obi-Wan who's pretending to be like we see the keys floating.
Yeah.
So maybe he's doing it, maybe he isn't.
Just because he can use the Force doesn't mean he's a Jedi, right?
I think there's more to his character than what we now know. Like they're in prison. What's happening?
When does this take place in the timeline?
Same timeline as Mandalorian.
Okay, so it's post Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because they're looking at that tablet. The kid is, and it looks like Luke and the Rancor. Like they're talking
it's like
about
a video game story or something about that. Yeah, that's very cool.
Like that's become something legend. Yeah, that they're dealing with in a video game. Maybe that's kind of fun.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting that they're kind of making it happen alongside the Mandalorian. So maybe we'll see some crossover.
Will there be a cameo of the Mandalorian in there? That'd be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Maybe Ahsoka was happening.
I mean, honestly, we could have any cameo from anybody at this point.
Yeah.
We could have Han Solo or Luke Skywalker maybe, although it's more likely to be a droid.
I do think in what's his name? Filoni. I couldn't think of it there. In Dave Filoni's he's making it wrapping up the whole story with the final movie. I think we will see we'll get the actors who are still with us. We'll get the CGI version of Han, Leia. We'll get Chewie. We'll get Luke. We'll get them all back for whatever needs to happen to end that.
In the Mandalorian
story.
Movie,
yes.
I see. It's just saying.
Maybe the Mandalorian movie, I think we'll get Luke. But I think in the final, like Filoni's making the final wrap-up film, and I think that's going to be something else. I think it'll be like that original Star Wars Thrawn trilogy conclusion.
I would like to see. I'll be honest. I'd like to see Lando. I haven't seen him in forever. He hasn't really. Oh, he did. He was in the Force Awakens. He was in the sequel trilogy. But I would love to see him again, like as a young version of himself, saying some cool stuff. Remember
where they were going to do a Lando TV show?
Yeah.
With Donald Glover. They were like, no, now it's a movie. Yeah. And I don't think we're ever going to see it.
No. There's
no way.
No.
Roll them into one of the other shows.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like we've got some older actors now who are still with us. I mean, come on, can we do something? Mm-hmm. Can we get them involved? Like, it was such a crime when Carrie Fisher passed away. Because we could have had the reunion before that, and like you sort of see who's left, and go like, let's not squander it again. Let's not it's great to have these characters.
By the way, did you go like track down Mark Hamill while he was in town?
No, but I rode my bike past the production, and I looked real hard to see if I could see him, and I couldn't.
Okay. Apparently, I saw an article where he was going recording some voiceover at a local studio at Da Capo.
Really?
And they said he was just a real professional, super nice guy. Came in, did his work, just a pro. Boom. Knocked it out of the park. And he is like a seasoned voice actor. He's very, very good.
And he left Winnipeg and went to the Democratic Convention.
That's right,
in Chicago. So like he planned, that's a good itinerary. It's like it worked.
So. Go from the Chicago of the North to the actual Chicago.
The Winnipeg of the South. But the itinerary, I like it. I like that he kind of figured it out. He was in the hood.
That's right.
So you might as well stop by. But that's good. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Mark Hamill when he was in town.
It's very exciting when anyone Star Wars adjacent is in town.
They were shooting in Crescentwood at Peanut Park. It's like fake name.
Okay.
And there's a house a street away, and it was all set up like massive trucks, and like you could tell it was a major production.
Oh, okay.
or
It's a
whatever.
Stephen King movie. Is it based on a
Is
Stephen
it?
King story? I think so. Yeah.
Do you know which one?
I can't remember. No.
No, I don't know either.
No. But it's a big production for sure.
I saw the movie truck back over somebody's lawn. I saw that happen. I was like,
Awesome.
I'm glad that's not my lawn, because they like drove right. They shot A Dog's Purpose across the street from me, and that was like I saw the toilet reserved for Dennis Quaid, which is nice. the porta potty just for Dennis.
Speaking of casting, so the news this week is Sigourney Weaver is going to be in the Mandalorian movie. That's correct. We don't know who she's going to play, but it's a pretty big name.
A bad guy, I'm guessing.
Oh, well, maybe not. But she has, I would say, one of the biggest names to be in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Who isn't originally associated with Star Wars, right? Like, think about actors known for other things. Like, she's a huge name in Hollywood. So that's a big deal.
And was a big star after Star Wars with Alien.
You're right. Of her own, like, science fiction franchise, right? So she's got her own thing going on.
I love it when Star Wars gets a good sci-fi actor to come into its production, which is I just love to see it. And Sigourney Weaver is fantastic, always great. You're right; she could be a replacement for what was her name? The one they canceled?
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune, yes.
Yeah.
She could be like a new
Check out
badass.
Funko Pop. I don't know if my Funko Pop's worth anything.
It's got to be worth something.
I think it was $75 last time I checked.
Yeah, but Funko Pops are just generally not. There's too many. That's the
yeah,
problem.
exactly.
They're hard to collect. But she'll either be a replacement who's with Mando, or she will be a villain.
The
probably.
evil villain. Yeah, it's tough to say, but it's exciting and it's interesting that they're doing this. Now, I wonder if they sought her out or if she asked to be a part of it.
Well, apparently Keanu Reeves was going to be the Sith in the Acolyte. Did you see that?
No. Was that really going to... Oh, I did hear about him being associated with Star Wars, but I didn't know what it was for. So he would have been in the second season of the Acolyte.
He would have had Manny's... Yeah, he would have been...
Well, if they'd said that up front, I would say, okay, let's do it.
See, but I'm glad they didn't put him in there, because then now we'd never see him again in Star Wars. So I think getting Keanu to be in a Star Wars it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they didn't squander it on that. I think that would have been a mistake, but I like it. I like these are good actors for Star Wars.
Sure.
Bring them in.
And when is this coming out again? This Mandalorian movie?
Next year.
Okay.
2025. Oh, and I should also say a trailer leaked. It's been removed.
Okay, let's talk about the leaks.
Some people even did, even posted their reaction to the trailer. Like, it was clear enough that you could do a reaction video and you could see it. It was a teaser, and the cool stuff. It looked cool, I have to say. So the beginning of the teaser was some key scenes from The Mandalorian that we saw in the series. So him seeing Grogu for the first time and holding out his finger, like some of that stuff. Is how the trailer started, and then it transitions to new scenes, and including snow troopers, and you see a POV shot from a mouse droid for the first time, and
cool.
It looks like Mando's taken. You see the mouse droid going, "What's going on?" And you see Mando like taking out some snow troopers. So maybe they go back to Hoth. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. And then they show Mando and Grogu in a little AT-ST going down the side of a mountain, and Grogu's ears are blowing in the wind, so it's cute as can be.
Okay.
And they get to the bottom. They're like, whoa, it looks like they're barely hanging on. They get to the bottom of this mountain that they're on, and then there's 3 walkers right there, and they'll turn their heads toward them like, oh, what's this? So it looks pretty good. Looks like a good shot.
Yeah.
And then, let me see. Oh, the final scene is Grogu in a space. It looks like in the bubble of the Mandalorian's cruiser.
Oh, sure.
And with those creatures like bad baby.
What's his name? Babu Frick.
Yes, with 3 of those Babu Frick characters.
What's the name of the? We don't know the. Can't remember what they're called.
No, I can't remember. But it's a super cute shot.
Yeah.
Grogu's in the middle, and the 3 Babu Fricks are around him, and they're like going on a mission or something. So it looks pretty good, and then it's very cute, and that's just the end of the teaser. So it's pretty quick.
Okay.
But it looked like a lot of fun. It looks like they really are calling it Mandalorian and Grogu. It's not a placeholder. It wouldn't surprise me if they added like Mandalorian and Grogu in something.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned that before.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if that was a series and they had like a maybe.
So it looked good. It looked good. I liked what I saw. I thought it looked
interesting.
like fun.
Well, if there's gonna be snowtroopers, that tells me that they're gonna be encountering like another pocket of Empire people somewhere, right? Like the one they found on Tatooine with what's his name in charge.
Oh, and we see the guy from Rebels who was in the bar in the Mandalorian. I can't think of his name now. He was in Star Wars Rebels, the animated show.
Yeah.
He's not in Ahsoka, but we saw him in live action in the Mandalorian bar.
Is it what's his name? Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character?
He's the creature, and he talks. What's his name? I can't think of it. Oh, it's ridiculous.
What the hell's wrong? It's because it's Friday morning or Thursday morning.
Yeah.
We're just fried. But it's
that guy.
Zed. You talking about
Zed.
Zed?
Yes.
Zed.
Okay. I couldn't think Oh yeah, it's letter Z in Canadian. Why couldn't I think of that? But so
Zed.
he's in it for a second.
Okay.
It looks like they have the original ship that the Mandalorian had. You see it fly by, and you're like, "What? Is that a flashback? Does he get a new ship? Like, what happened?"
Okay.
But, so maybe the ship is back. I don't know, the original ship. It just looks good. It looks like fun. I'm ready for some Star Wars fun, and I think the Mandalorian and Grogu will give that to us.
Yeah, and it'll be nice to see it in the theater again. I will say,
yeah.
I miss seeing Star Wars in the theater. I would love it if some theater would do like a screening of The Mandalorian or one of these series. I think that'd be very, very cool. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be awesome. Now, are we gonna get another season of The Mandalorian before that, or is that gonna happen after?
No, I don't.
Or is there no more?
I think there will be another season. I think Favreau said there will be, but not till after the movie, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love another season. Like, to me, I almost like the seasons better because I like the Mandalorian so much that the more content, the better.
Yeah.
So there was that, and they also leaked a trailer for Andor.
Oh, okay.
That was another one, and there are some heavy spoilers, but which probably tells you that they're not that big spoilers if they're going to show them.
Well, not if they're in the trailer, but
one of
so
them,
Andor season 2, are we talking about?
Yep.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome! I can't wait. So good.
Ben Mendelsohn is back.
Yay! He's awesome.
Yeah. So that's good.
Oh, that's exciting. That's going to be good. That has been the best series, I think. Other than The Mandalorian,
so good,
Andor was the best series. And that's one that took risks and it worked. Like, they did things differently and it worked. And the Acolyte did things differently and it didn't work. And those are the two extremes of the...
Well, the writing is better on Andor.
Yeah.
It's the writing.
Yeah.
Like,
and the characters and the acting and
some
everything.
acting, but I think once again, I chalk that up to the writing more than anything, because I wouldn't know how to play that character, since their opinion, like, now I'm gonna turn myself into the Jedi. Now I'm gonna fight the Jedi. Now I'm gonna join the Jedi. Now I'm gonna now I have my mind wiped. Like, it's just pointless. Like, just one thing to another, and it's just nonsensical. Whereas Andor, I love the fact he's arrested, and it's like a corrupt system.
And you get to see the machine of the Empire and how it works and how it chews people up. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
and there's so much more to it.
There's a depth there that
we didn't get.
No. Like, it was so good. So I can so anything, and of course, Mon Mothma, and escaping, going from the New Republic to the rebellion, and her weird husband. It's my day of days. It's my day of days. We're gonna see that guy get his, or she's gonna have to betray him or something there. So it just looks like, and then of course, Cyril, the man baby.
Stellan Skarsgård, are you talking about?
No. Cyril is the guy whose mom is like, why did you?
Oh, yes.
Why did you get a job?
Yes, that's right. With the overbearing mother. Yes, that's right. That was interesting too. Just again, that's why it's interesting characters and people that we want to see more from. That's what makes a difference. And so that's exciting. Do we have a date on that yet, as far as season 2 for Andor?
Probably after Skeleton Crew sometime.
Okay, so Skeleton Crew is in December.
Yeah.
And then Andor. And then after that is Andor.
Probably Andor. Then probably the movie.
And then we don't know.
There were so many other things that were supposed to be.
Well,
made.
I mean, there was a Taika Waititi movie at some point. There was all kinds of stuff.
Don't
they had.
make that.
No,
I just
know.
have a bad feeling about that one. I just don't think they should.
I just think they were throwing a lot of stuff at the wall because they were excited and the people were excited about the
Yeah.
content. But now they're pulling it back, and this is something that's happening in all of Hollywood. By the way, they can't quite figure out. They're not making as much money off these streaming platforms as they would like. So they're not putting as much money into the content as they used to.
Well, everybody cancels it when the show they like is over.
Yeah.
And so the onus is like, and I've come close, but then every once in a while something new pops up and I'm like, okay, like I make damn sure that if I'm paying a monthly fee for my 3 streaming services that I do, well, in addition to whatever, I guess in a way on demand comes into that as well. But I make sure that I make use of them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay for something that doesn't give me content I'm interested in on a monthly basis.
But you see the danger there because in order to keep people subscribed, they have to continue putting out new content.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will cancel the subscription. But if you have to keep making new content, it's going to get worse. It's going to water down the quality of the content. That's why. That's why. Well, that's one of the reasons why the Acolyte is so bad. It's because they had to make another series. They're looking through all their ideas for series. They settle on the Acolyte because it seems like the best idea, and they produce it because they need to produce a new show. That's it. There's no other reason to produce the Acolyte other than they need content for Disney Plus.
But what's weird about that is we keep hearing like Guillermo del Toro. We heard that he wanted to make a Jabba the Hutt series, and he's like, I wrote it, and I whatever. And you're like, that guy's a great filmmaker. Like, why would they say no to that, but approve the Acolyte on the basis of a single hit on Netflix in Russian Doll? And the second season of Russian Doll was terrible.
Yeah.
So like,
is that what that was?
That's the other one that Leslie Headland did.
Okay.
And the first season is great. It truly is great. So I can see why you'd go, okay, well, this one's going to be great too. But the second season was a major come down. There's some warning signs, but I think at script level, I think there's probably warning signs. Pablo, if he was free to do so, could probably tell us about what happened.
But I also think they're choosing shows based on global audiences. They're trying to sell everything in China as well because it's such a huge audience. So they're trying to choose things that mean so they're relevant to everybody. And what happens when you try to appeal to everybody, Kenton?
Not going to happen. It's for nobody.
You appeal to nobody. Yes. And so that is the real problem with the Acolyte and the series that aren't doing well. And whereas The Mandalorian, I feel like Jon Favreau, they just made that story up for themselves. Like we just want to tell an awesome Star Wars story that we like, and hopefully the other Star Wars fans will also like it, and that's how you go about making that content.
Yeah, well, it makes you watch it, and it shows you things that you didn't think were possible in Star Wars, but yet it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas the Acolyte was almost like a Twilight, like Twilight series where
I haven't seen Twilight.
Like I've seen clips on TV or something, but it's like the story. As I understand it, the story is secondary to the love part of it. And I think that's what the Acolyte was trying to get a certain fan base into. I don't think it clicked.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like they're trying to appeal to too many people with all the things they're doing, and they just need to focus on the story and not worry about the audience as much.
Tell a good story.
The audience is there. If you Star Wars, whatever you create, there will be an audience for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Although maybe not because apparently the ratings dropped off after episode 3.
Yeah, of course it did.
The Power of Many, after that horrible.
Yep.
There you go. The show is gonna suffer, and you're gonna get low streams, and people who did watch it were very divided about it. I was actually surprised that there was like a movement online to renew it.
I was surprised as well. Although I do have one friend who really liked it, and he's been talking a lot about it. But,
well, there's element like every Star Wars has elements you like, but by and large, I thought on balance it did not win me over.
I think what all this is doing is normalizing Star Wars to be the same as everything else as far as like
that's
brands.
Not good.
I know it's not, but that's what's happening though, right? Like, because Star Wars used to be elevated. Like Star Wars is this thing that we all loved over and above everything else.
Yeah.
But now we're just taking it a series at a time and saying, okay, is this a good series? I don't know. Let's sit down and watch it. Oh no, it sucks. I'm not going to watch it. Which is what we do for everything.
Yeah.
Everything else. It used to be that like I watched all of the Acolyte because we have this podcast, but also because I'm a Star Wars fan and I would have watched it no matter what. But I might not do that. If I start watching Skeleton Crew and it's not engaging me, I might stop watching it, right? Like it's just not going to continue. And that's what's going to keep happening with Star Wars because it's just too much content.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And we had that discussion actually at the beginning of when Disney bought it.
Yeah.
Remember, we were like, is it going to become just normalized? Is it going to be too much?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to handle it? Like all of that stuff. And I think like the movies were always going to be hits, but man, like it was there for the taking.
Yeah.
You know, and once again, I also think the Rise of Skywalker has had the same problem as the Acolyte, which is they threw together a story and went good enough.
Yep.
Close.
We have a deadline to hit. We have to make
right.
a movie. We have a third film to get in the can. So let's start working on it. And that's part of the problem as well. But I have high hopes. I am excited about the Skeleton Crew. It seems interesting. Certainly the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to be awesome. I can't imagine that's going to be bad in any way.
No, I think it'll be good fun. I do.
Have you heard about this? I just remember there's a new Star Wars game coming out. It might be today or tomorrow, actually.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Star Wars Outlaws. Are you interested in this at all?
Not really.
No?
Are you?
Yeah, I thought so. It kind of seems like Grand Theft Auto Star Wars, doesn't it?
If that's what it is. Okay. I don't know. Like I saw some cutscenes and I was like, I don't know. Like what? Like, oh, you see Han Solo and Carbonite at some point. I was like, oh, they're pulling that out of the bag. You know, I don't know. I just have if it is like open world, Grand Theft Auto style, that could be really good. Mm-hmm. But the scenes I've seen, I don't know. I just haven't seen anything that made me go, wow.
I know they've wanted to do that for a while. I've heard grumblings of like or even like an adult style Star Wars show. I think they were talking about at one point. What was that Seth Green one they were going to do? No, that was a cartoon.
Detours.
Yeah, that was more of a cartoon. Yeah. I don't know if that was going to be adult themed or not, but it was like that was more kind of like Family Guy style parody. But yeah, this seems like, I mean, I hope it's that. The problem is that you can't rent games anymore.
Yeah.
I normally would rent this so I can play it and check it out, but you'd have to buy it in order to experience it. So it's either buy it at full price or wait a couple of months and you know it's going to be on sale. And that's what's happened with all the Star Wars games. Everything, I paid full price for Jedi Order. No, you gave me Jedi Order when you finished it.
Yeah.
But I paid full price.
Even I got that on sale.
Yeah, I paid full price for Rogue Squadron. That's the one that was the flying one. And it was actually a good game. I liked that game. But it was like dirt cheap a month later.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's marked down almost immediately. I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, if you just don't mind waiting a month, you can just wait and get it way cheaper.
And that's what I've done. I didn't play, what was the one that came out last year? The open world, or the sequel to the one that you and I played.
Oh, the Jedi, Jedi Order or whatever one, with the ginger Jedi.
Oh, yeah, that was Jedi Order. No, what was
Jedi
that called?
Order 2, whatever the second one was.
Yeah, whatever the hell it's called. Yeah, I never bought the second one. Did you?
No.
No.
I didn't like what I said about that game. I didn't like that you kill so many animals. The whole point of the game, you all just go through the jungle and kill animals. Like, that's no fun.
No, you're not really a Jedi if you're just like cutting everything with your lightsaber. You should save it. And I hated the travel function.
Yeah.
They must have fixed that on the second one.
I hope so. But I'm curious to see this. I always kind of want to try all Star Wars games a little bit. So I'll see if maybe there's a demo I can download that I can try. I'll check it out and I'll let you know.
You know, and the other thing that's missing for me from that open world game, I just like Grand Theft Auto always starts, you choose your character. There's 3 characters. They're all bad in their own way, but you choose the one that you're going to stick with, and you're like, it gives you the illusion that you're playing a game that nobody else is seeing, when in fact, of course, you're not. But what happened to that? Like, why do I need to be this kind of like low rent Han Solo? You know what I mean?
You know that's what it's going to be. It's going to be your Dax.
Right.
What's that guy's name? Dak. The guy,
whatever. Yeah.
The guy from the Empire Fallen. Oh my God, my brain is fried today. You know what I'm talking about? The guy, Dax Rendar.
Dash Rendar.
Dash Rendar. That's him. Dash Rendar is a Han Solo, poor man's Han Solo. That's what it's going to be.
That's what this is, a different poor man's Han Solo.
Yeah, and I wish that, you're right. I wish that there was a choice in character, or you could make your own character. That's always fun. That would be fun to have like a make your own Star Wars character function.
We love the aliens. Wouldn't it be great if we could choose an alien, like one, like it's not going to kill anybody. Could we?
In Knights of the Old Republic, you can do that.
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
I love that element of it, where you could do it, and once again, like your character looks different, and it's and in the cutscenes and stuff, and that actually adds replayability if you can then play it again with another character and have different outcomes, maybe, or that could based on the character. So that's the thing that disappoints me. I'm so sick of you can't be Han Solo, but you can be low rent Han Solo. You can't do this, but you can do this, and it's always like a lighter version of the thing you actually want.
Yeah,
George Lucas was an expert at doing that. But yeah, so I think maybe that's another reason why I kind of look at it and go, I don't know. She's got a mullet. I don't know. She's got a mullet.
Mullets are in right now.
She's got a mullet. Got a dog.
Mullet. I would never. One of the hairstyles I never thought would make a comeback is the mullet. I never thought that would be a thing. But I see young people with mullets all over the place.
Does the character's dog give you clues to what you're supposed to do? That's the other thing I want to know.
Dog?
That's what it looks
The
like.
question is, can
There's
you
a
pet the
thing-
dog? That's the question.
There's one of those little creatures that walks around with you, and my guess is it's like, why don't you try the door? Like,
Oh,
when
it's
you
like
get-
that. Yeah, the hinge person.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But whatever. It's a Star Wars game, and it's worth looking at. So I'll check it out, and I'll let you know.
Oh, good. Yeah, do.
Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Let's see. Was there any other Star Wars news that we had? Well, the leaked trailers and the new trailer was the major stuff. I don't think so. I'm looking forward to Skeleton Crew though, and that's when we can start doing weekly.
Well, once that comes up, but
recaps
I would
again.
also like to talk about, maybe next episode we could talk about, like, just look at the last 10 years. It's been 10 years since Disney bought Lucasfilm. And let's take a look at what they've done over those last 10 years and, and you know, the success and failure of every single Star Wars piece that's come out. Because again, it's been a roller coaster. Really has been up and down, and they kind of, sometimes they react really quickly to the audience and sometimes they don't. So I find it really interesting. They kind of pick and choose what they listen to. So yeah, it's a fascinating subject. And
well, we said we're like, let's have a Star Wars intervention, but what happened was Star Wars intervened itself by canceling. Yeah, it canceled the Acolyte. It showed us some stuff that looks like promising, that looks like, okay, back to business kind of thing. And I think that's what it needed to do.
And that's just standard, I think, for making content in this day and age. You're always going to have stuff that doesn't do as well and is not as good. And you just move it aside. You learn from your mistakes and you move on.
Right. What else can you do?
No.
That's what Deadpool and Wolverine is. It's like represents a new chapter for Marvel, I hope.
Let's see. I don't know if that's
you think it's one standalone hit and back to the bring hither the crap?
I think I don't think this is gonna be as easy as they make it seem. I don't think you can put Tony Stark in a new role and make everything better again.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like that I just think that they're way too optimistic about the future of this. I want to wait and see what happens. They've burned my trust. I have to build it back.
Yeah, that was a bad decision to make him a different character. But I also, could you imagine Mark Hamill's coming back, except this time he's playing Jabba or something? Like, no, it's unrelated to what he's done before.
Yes, Mark Hamill's back as the Emperor.
Yeah, like
that's what that's like, right?
Yeah, that's terrible. I would hate that. That would drive me crazy.
I know, right? Although he'd probably be really good as the Emperor. Like, Mark Hamill can do anything. But
I agree that he. I'm not saying he couldn't act the role. I'm just saying that we want more Luke. If he's there, give us more Luke. But I think actually Robert Downey Jr. will be, because I think in the comics, wasn't there something where Tony Stark became Dr. Doom or something?
Know. Possibly. I stopped reading the comics.
Hey, they're going to rehabilitate him. Maybe Iron Man again, right? That's where this is going. He actually will be the same character ultimately, maybe.
Not to get on a Marvel tangent, but I think the reason Deadpool and Wolverine is so good is because it had two major movie stars championing it from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
These two guys were like, we're making this movie. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do it our way. They got a director that could work with them. It was basically the three of them working together on this thing. Yeah. And that's why it is the way that it is. And that's not going to happen every time. It's just not going to happen.
No, it'll be back to business.
It'll be back to like, okay, we're going to hire this director. We're going to get this person. They're not going to click. It's not going to go as well. The magic won't happen, and it'll just be substandard.
They'll bring it. They'll announce Ant-Man 4, and that's when you know, like, run for your life. No more Ant-Man. Yeah. No more.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. That's it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you in the ass.
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Now I am the master.
I'm taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work.